This game is famously known as the game of the century, played between Donald Byrne and the young Bobby Fischer. The game is a masterpiece of attacking chess, with Fischer demonstrating incredible precision and creativity to dismantle White's position. Control of the center by placing the knight on f3. White indirectly influences the central squares e5 and d4. The knight exerts pressure on these squares without committing a pawn, allowing White to maintain flexibility in pawn structure. Fischer mirrors with knight f6, preparing for a hypermodern approach. White develops the queenside pawn, suggesting an English-style setup. Black continues with the fianchetto idea, aiming to control the center indirectly with bishop g7. White develops the knight to c3, aiming to control the center indirectly. Black fianchettos the bishop to g7, complementing the kingside pawn structure. White pushes the d-pawn to d4, building a strong center. Black castles kingside to ensure king's safety and for a rapid development. White develops the bishop to f4, aiming at the c7 pawn. Black strikes in the center with pawn to d5, challenging White's setup. White moves the queen to b3, pressuring the b7 pawn and reinforcing c for pawn. Black captures on c for pawn, temporarily sacrificing the pawn for tactical opportunities. Black plays pawn to c6, reinforcing the center and preparing for b5. White pushes the e-pawn to e4, establishing central dominance. Black develops the knight to d7, preparing counterplay on e5 and c5. White places the rook on d1, targeting the mi-open d-file and block the knight development. Black moves the knight to b6, attacking the queen on c4 and eyeing central squares. White retreats the queen to c5, maintaining activity and pressure. Black develops the bishop to g4, pinning the knight on f3 and creating tactical threats involving knight f4. Bishop to e2 followed by castling would have been more prudent. The bishop move played allows a sudden crescendo of tactical points to be uncovered by Fischer. The Trojan horse. If knight takes a4, then knight takes e4, White will faces considerable difficulties. Opening the b-file, restraining queen move and preparing tactical ideas. At first glance, one might think that this move only helps White create a stronger pawn center. However, Fischer's plan is quite the opposite. By eliminating the knight on c3, it becomes possible to sacrifice the exchange via knight takes e4 and smash White's center, while the king remains trapped in the center. the natural continuation of Black's plan. This is a good attack, aiming to gain material and threatening both the queen and the rook. Move to safety the queen to b6 and connecting the two rooks. Preparing for castling king's side. Black plays knight takes c3, attacking the rook on d1 and preparing rook e8 check. Forcing the white king to move, losing the opportunity to castle. Knight e5 was a better move. Black sacrifices the queen with bishop to e6, an iconic move transitioning to an unstoppable attack. Declining the sacrifice leads to immediate disaster. If this is the game of the century, then bishop to e6 must be the counter of the century. Fischer offers his queen in exchange for a devastating attack using his minor pieces. Declining this offer is no simple task, accepting with bishop takes e6 leads to a filleter mate smothered mate. After queen to b5 check, king to g1 follows, then knight to e2 check, forcing king to f1. Fischer continues with knight to g3 check, pushing the king back to g1, only for the brilliant queen to f1 check. White is compelled to capture with rook takes f1, after which knight to e2 checkmate delivers mate. Other attempts to decline the queen also fail to neutralize Black's attack. For instance, declining with queen takes c3 runs into queen takes c5, leaving white under immense pressure. White accepts the queen's sacrifice with bishop takes b6. Black responds with bishop takes c for check, driving the white king into the open. This tactical scenario, where a king is repeatedly revealed to checks, is sometimes called a windmill. Black calmly captures on b6, securing material while keeping the initiative. White tries to activate the queen with queen to b4. Black responds with rook to a4, seizing control of the open file. an opening for king to escape an imminent checkmate. Preparing to coordinate the attack. Further dismantling white's pawn structure. Black exchanges with rook takes e1, simplifying into a winning endgame. A desperate temptation to block the attack. Black blocks effortlessly with bishop to f8. Knight to e4, dominating the position and blocking any attempted escape for the king. Every piece and pawn of the black camp is defended. The white queen has nothing to do. White pushes the h-pawn to h4, but black counters with pawn to h5, further restricting the king's escape routes. King to g7, freeing the bishop to launch an attack. Black's bishop delivers a check with bishop to c5, forcing the white king further back. Now Byrne is hopelessly entangled in Fischer's mating net. This masterpiece is rightly celebrated as one of the greatest games of all time,